What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo, yo.
So, guys, as you can see, Nick is still holed up. He's battling COVID. I'm happy to report doing well. Nick, you still feeling all right?
I'm feeling good, man. You know, it's a weird sensation to be sick with this type of thing that doesn't really feel like any other sickness I've ever had before. But the symptoms that I'm dealing with are pretty mild. I don't have a lot of headaches or anything like that. So a little bit achy on my back, which is weird. It's not like my whole body's achy, but my back is a little achy. And I guess I've lost a little bit of my smell, but it's not all gone, and I haven't lost a sense of taste yet. So I'm doing good. I think I have one of the milder cases. I'm grateful for that. Just going to keep trucking along, quarantining myself away, and we'll get through this sooner than later, and hopefully we'll be back to normal very soon.
Oh, there you go. And as the true professional you are, we certainly cannot let a fight week in Houston go by without dropping a video, especially when Derrick the Black Beast Lewis is main eventing for an interim title. And there's been a lot of controversy around this interim title. People are saying that it's the least deserved interim title of all time. And I would like to just kind of counteract that by saying Derrick Lewis had signed multiple bout agreements with Francis to have this fight, first in July, then in August, then in September. And every time the date kept getting pushed back, and it sort of became apparent that it wasn't so much the date for Francis, at least in my opinion. It was more along the lines of who the opponent was. And he wanted that opponent to be John Jones.
Yeah.
Now, the first fight between Francis and Derrick was one of the worst fights of all time. And so I was hoping we'd get a chance to see that fight, to see that ship rectified and get those guys in there for a proper slugfest, which is what we thought that it was going to be the first time around. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. And I don't think we can take anything away from Ciryl, who's had an incredible 2020, finished former champions like Dos Santos. He's on a 3-fight win streak. The guy has never lost in martial arts, whether it's kickboxing or whether it's MMA, in the UFC, outside of the UFC. Derrick Lewis is the knockout king of the UFC, most knockouts in history. And by the way, he's got a win over Francis. So I think that a lot of people, although they're not happy with the fact that this is going to be an interim title, I, for one, am glad to see it happen here in Houston. And I certainly hope that Derrick can get a win, even though I respect Ciryl and think he's an excellent opponent.
Yeah, this is a great fight, and I'm completely of the other mindset that this is not the most egregious interim title by a long shot. I personally feel that if Francis Ngannou didn't say what he said right after he won the belt against Stipe Miocic, that this fight wouldn't be for a title. I think that they would have kicked the can a little bit further and allowed for some extra time. But remember what Francis said. I haven't taken any damage. I want to stay very active this year. The UFC hears that and they love it. A heavyweight that can stay active, God, we need that. We've been wanting the heavyweight belt to move quicker for forever, and it's finally a time where we got a guy who's a champion that's not injured, that wants to stay very active. And how about we give him a fight in 2 months? Well, they give him a fight. They ask him about June. They ask him about July. He says, no, that's a little bit too soon. Okay, well, what about August? No, I can't do August. So then the UFC is looking around going, wait a second, you just told us you wanted to stay as active as possible. We've got guys for you that are ready to fight you, one of which has a win over you. Let's see if you can you run with this title and start defending it as quickly as possible. And it just sort of seemed to me like Francis didn't like the matchups and he wanted to hold out for certain things, but you had the two guys that he wanted to fight the most in John Jones and Stipe Miocic admittingly themselves saying, we didn't want to fight anytime now. We'll fight at the end of 2020 or maybe early 2022. So it's very strange to me, and I feel if Francis didn't say that, he would have gotten this fight pushed a little bit further, and maybe this fight wouldn't be for an interim. But when you show somebody that your words don't mean anything, and you just say them to sound cooler. When Joe Rogan's holding the microphone up to your face and you just say them because you think that's what people want to hear, it never goes over well. The UFC is the one with the power in this situation, and if they want to put an interim title up against between two guys that are more than deserving for a title fight, then they have every right to do that.
I think so, and I think this is Francis wins here too, because Francis's next fight is going to be a mega fight, and it's going to be interim champion versus champion. It's going to make the steam and the hype even that much more for what will already be a very hyped up fight. The past is the past, and either you can agree that this is a decent interim title fight, and obviously you have to take what Nick and I say with a grain of salt because we live in Houston, we train at the same gym Derrick does, so we're enthused for him, or you disagree, and that's okay too. But nonetheless, I don't think anybody could disagree that Derrick Lewis versus Ciryl Gane is a fantastic matchup. I mean, you have a guy who on paper is one of the cleanest strikers the division's ever seen in Ciryl Gane. He's got great cardio. He's in incredible shape. He's got submission victories, including heel hooks. The guy's an extremely well-rounded fighter, and it looks like he's got all the skills to beat somebody like a Derrick Lewis. But that's the same thing people said about Curtis Blades. And we all know what happened there. Derrick Lewis is one of those few people in this world that just has ungodly power and can end the night at any second. And he's got an uncanny ability to find the shot that will do just that.
Right. And Ciryl Gane let us into his mind right after his last fight, which was not that long ago. He said, I'm happy that I won. I'm continuing to win, but there's some things I need to work on. I need to, get my strength and my power up, my one-punch KO power up. And then they call him for a title fight. You have to say yes in this situation, but make no mistake, 2.5, 3 months is not enough time to work on those types of things. You just got to get fresh, get, super ready for a fight that's coming. And you basically got to take whatever weapons and tools you've got and take those 2 months in advance and just take your best stab at a fight for a title. So I understand that Ciryl probably wishes he had more time to prepare for Derrick Lewis, but when a title fight calls, you have to answer. And, you're right about the Curtis Blades thing. I thought personally that it was a horrible matchup for Derrick in the sense that Curtis doesn't care if you don't find his fights to be entertaining, if you don't find him to be entertaining. He wants to win by any means necessary. If that means hold you down and just do enough striking to not get stood up by the refs, he'll do just that. And that's a more high percentage way to beating Derrick Lewis, in my opinion. What Ciryl Gane does is he stands and trades with you. He just doesn't have near the power, and he kind of has to be perfect against power punchers and power strikers the entire duration of the fight. And this one's going to be a 5-round fight. I just don't see Ciryl being able to stay perfect and not get hit for 25 straight minutes against Derrick Lewis. Derrick is always willing to slow the pace down and fight at his own speed, and he doesn't really care what the crowd does. Luckily, this is a Houston crowd. This is a pro-Derrick, pro-Black Beast crowd, so they're not going to be booing him, but they will certainly be booing Ciryl Gane. And I think that home court advantage is going to play a big role in this. I just see Ciryl trying to avoid as many big shots as he can, but eventually they're going to start to land, and I think Derrick's going to close the show out with a big KO.
Well, what Ciryl did that was so beautiful against Alexander Volkov might be what get knocked out against Derrick Lewis, and that is come forward with a heavy pressure, throw volume, back you up against the cage. That conventional wisdom tells you that's what you do in order to win a fight. And that's what most people do. When people do that and can do that effectively, they win fights. But the problem is when you start throwing punches at Derrick Lewis, he's extremely good with fighting off of his back foot. He's comfortable with his back against the cage. He's not known for his grappling pedigree. He wasn't a jiu-jitsu champion. He's probably the toughest blue belt in Houston. I think we got to give him that at least. But at the same time, he's got the ability to stand back up when he gets taken down. We saw it against Alexei Oleinik. And so Derrick is actually very comfortable in there with a wrestler, or in there even with somebody who's just a pressure volume puncher coming forward, because he will hang out right against the cage. And whether you're shooting for a takedown or overextending just ever so slightly on a shot, he'll hit you with an uppercut, a hook, or a straight from hell that'll put you right out before you even saw it coming. And Ciryl Gane is a phenomenal, phenomenal fighter, but he does fight with that chin held just a little bit high. And my God, if there's anybody to hide your chin away from, it is Derrick the Black Beast Lewis. And call me biased, I understand, but I'm going Derrick the Black Beast Lewis for a 3rd round KO. Yeah,
that's a great prediction. Similar to what I'm going to call, Ciryl Gane. I've been watching the Embedded. We get every bit of content that we possibly can in during fight week of these fights, and I love what the UFC does. the embedded was
Especially when you're
super
at home
bad.
battling COVID. You got nothing but time on your hands.
Right. I wish I could be training, and it sucks because last week we were traveling, and then this week I'm stuck in the quarantine. But it would have been nice to be training with Derrick this whole week. I know he's doing all the right things, and our coach, Crew Bob Perez, and Joe Murphy, the rest of the guys over at Main Street, are doing everything they can to get him prepared for this fight. I think it's going to be such a fun atmosphere. I wish I could be going to the fight. Unfortunately, I have to be sitting on the couch watching at home. But Derrick, Ciryl Gane has been posting a lot in these embeddeds and whatnot. Lots of elbows and lots of knees and close-up action. And honestly, I think he needs to fight a longer game if he wants to have any chance of beating Derrick. Because you get in close, and Derrick can find shots on you. He's great with uppercuts, great with hooks, great with body shots when he needs to use them. And if you're a striker that plans on striking with Derrick Lewis for 25 minutes, you better keep some range and know how to use your distance because it's a nightmare if you don't. Remember the Volkov fight. Volkov fought a very smart, very safe fight. Granted, he lost to Derrick Lewis, but he was winning four rounds and 4 minutes of that fight, and then Derrick just shut the lights out on him, which proves Derrick can win a fight with 1 second left, and he always has power you have to watch out for. So if you're not fighting perfect the entire time, like Volkov was, you're going to go to sleep earlier than that. I think we're going to see. I'm not going to land on a 3rd round KO like you because I think. Our opinions are always just too similar. But I think I'm going to go early 2nd round. I think we might see a finish, and if it goes Derrick's way, it's going to be a finish by KO, probably early. If Ciryl gets it done, it's going to be a decision that he likely gets booed out of the arena for fighting very safe and playing it safe and not giving the people what they want, and especially Houston because they're here ride or die for Derrick Lewis. H-Town swinging and banging. We know what he's going to bring into the octagon, and if Ciryl Gane makes this a boring fight, then it might be the most egregious interim title that's ever been wrapped around somebody's waist.
I think so, and I'm super excited about it. And Derrick does have the crowd on his side, and so he's going to have the comfortability to be able to hang out for a couple of rounds. The Houston crowd's not going to boo Derrick. Right. If Derrick wants to lay low and just wait for that shot, the Houston crowd, we're a boisterous bunch here. But we'll give the Black Beast at least 10 minutes out of respect, maybe 15 before anybody starts to make some noise. And I think that's more than enough time for him to get the job done. So I think that Derrick's going to win by knockout. Again, I would not put any money on this fight based on what Nick and I are saying because we are totally biased in our prediction and we will never pick against a fellow teammate, no matter how difficult the odds or the obstacle to overcome may seem. But with that said, I do believe that this is a fight that's well made for Derrick with the way Ciryl comes forward and how high he holds his chin. So we'll see. It's going to be a tough one, but I think H-Town's going to be very happy come Sunday morning.
Absolutely. And I think once we get the winner of this one, Francis is going to realize whether he's got a good chance at containing his title or not. Him and Ciryl have done a lot of training together. Him and Derrick have not. He's definitely more afraid of Derrick Lewis than any other heavyweight that he's ever been locked in a cage with or on that roster. It kind of forces his hand. Now Francis's next fight will not be against John Jones. It will not be against Stipe Miocic. It'll be against the winner of this fight. And I have a feeling it's going to be Derrick the Black Beast Lewis. And, God, it would be really cool if they came back to Houston for that one. Now, how fun would that be?
That would be incredible. But I think the rest of the MMA community would probably start to hate us down here in Texas if we got yet another pay-per-view. But I'd be willing to accept that to see that.
They hate us because they ain't us. No.
Oh, man. Well, shout out to all of you guys from all over that watch this show. We really appreciate it. And if you've enjoyed this video, a like, comment, and subscribe is always much appreciated. And if you listen to audio podcasts, check us out there as well. Again, we're sorry it took so long to get this video out. Nick lost his voice due to COVID. We were doing some traveling. He's okay now, and better late than never. So, guys, enjoy the fights, and we will recap it all, and we will see you then.
Peace.